Hi, hi everybody, welcome. And again, just some, I don't want to say ground rules, but this, we do record this. I know, friends have said, oh, hey, this is being recorded. If you don't want to say anything or have your camera off or even change your name so it doesn't read, like me, like Matthew, or I think what's mine say, Christine and Matthew or whatever, that's fine. This goes on to YouTube. I mean, I wouldn't record this, but so many people end up not showing up, but they watch it later. And again, I don't get a lot of people watching these videos anyway, so it's not going to be like in the big picture anybody cares. Friend of mine, one of my good friends, Marco, was funny. He's like, dude, like maybe in like 50 years, people like will discover these videos. I'm like, well, hardly think there's a whole lot here that's worth discovering. But anyway, that's sort of a humble put down. But so don't worry about it. If it's the kind of thing where you feel, I'm not really good at technology. I know Christina's doing a Qigong course and they have it where people ask questions, but nothing shows up. Like the screen doesn't flip to them. Maybe there's a setting I should look into or whatever. But in the meantime, just do what you like with this. And like, again, nothing here is controversial or weird or whatever. So I don't think going out there on public, it's going to matter much. Anyway, just sort of putting that out there. Another thing is just a brief introduction, because time-wise, I want to keep it to about an hour. So before we get into this, this is a new course, and I don't want to feel like I'm like rushing things, but I do kind of want to there's a lot of different things I kind of want to teach over the next little bit, and time's short and we don't know where life's going to go, this and that. And so usually I in the past, if I was teaching Dharma stuff as a student Dharma teacher, I wouldn't teach in the summer. I take the summers off, but I'm just like going for it every week just because there's a lot of material to go through, and I want to make sure that we kind of get everything covered. And in the coming, I guess, months, like I want to do a lot more retreat next year. So I'm trying to balance things out. I don't think I'll get everything done by that time. But I do sort of want to just sort of keep going through different courses. So this one's on karma. We're going to do diamond cutters. The next one, after that, it'll be a course where we're looking at chapter 9 of Shantideva's Guided Bodhisattva's Way of Life on Emptiness. And then I'll just see which comes which, but then a course on Heart Sutra, Mahamudra, and Essence of True Eloquence, like Tsongkhapa's later work on emptiness. And maybe after that, we can see what people would like to do. I've often thought of doing classes on vows, going over all our vows, different levels of vows, which is really, really wonderful. Or technically an introduction to Tantra. I've got a dear friend in Toronto's always wanting me to teach. I'd ask Rinpoche's permission, of course. It isn't kind of a one-off thing, but I'd maybe want to teach on Kriya Tantra, for instance. I've got our dear friend and teacher, David Gonzalez, taught us all the sort of unique original protocols and rules on how to do Kriya Tantra retreats. And it's really amazing. It's super, super inspiring. But at the same time, anyway, we'll see where all this goes. So this next course right here, what we're doing is on karma. I feel like if the two sort of courses are this is going to be close to 10 classes, I think, with a discussion, like including a discussion. But I feel it's like, if you had to do any class, or any course that we've sort of done so far, this would be the one. These two classes on Abhidharma Kosha and Karma, and Diamond Cutter Sutra. This, like I say, if you have to do anything, this is the sort of the meat and potatoes of your practice or path. So I love this class. I've taught it a bunch of times. I just think it's really illuminating. And again, this is sort of your instruction. These are the IKEA instructions for your tantric practice, so to speak. So it's really good to do. And what I find when you're doing this particular class on karma, just the nature of karma, how it works, the different dimensions to karma. Like I always remember my first teacher, Gen Kelsing Tarchin, we were doing a class together, I think it was 1995 or something, on Lojong. And he was talking about karma and this stuff. And then some guy asked a question and he said, this is the best thing I can ever teach you, because this will be once you understand this, this will be the first time in your life that you will be in control of your life. So this is the greatest gift as a teacher I can give you, because this will be the first time you'll understand things and be an author of your own life rather than a victim. And I thought, whoa, man, everyone's just like, oh, that's amazing. And I think that that's a really, really, it's true, right? I think that that's really, really good. So this here, a lot of times you'll do, having done all these years of philosophy in university like me, but you'll take interesting classes, you'll learn different philosophies, different views, maybe different religions or whatever, different spiritual traditions. But in the end, some of them might not be very practical. Like you'll learn something, you'll get new insights, but in a practical day-to-day basis, you won't know how to put those ideas into practice, kind of as an art of living. It's just like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's cool. This is related to this. Oh, that's really that. I didn't know this was actually that. It's not, oh, wow, interesting. But again, it's kind of all intellectual. It's just in your head. So it might motivate you a little bit, but on the whole, you don't know how kind of the rubber hits the road or how it's integrated into your life. So teachings on karma, these teachings on the nature of karma, it allows you to do that. It allows you to take all these Buddhist principles and views that you're learning and actually make them work, make them a specific art that you can do. And that's why this is such an important class and so beautiful. I just wanted to give this as a little bit of a precursor, because it's not an intellectual discussion that we'll be having over the next 10 classes on karma. It's very, very practical. And again, you hit that word all the time, karma. Even I hear this word a lot, oh, it's karma, karma. But most people don't know actually what karma means and what it really is. When you actually ask them, it just sort of usually comes up as like the universe getting its revenge on you kind of thing. People don't know what the actual dimensions to karma is. So anyway, that's my little preamble, just to give you a little bit of introduction to what we'll be doing over the next 10 classes, 10 weeks here. Okay, so let's get started. Let me just recite the Heart Sutra. And where did I put it? It's here. Okay. So everyone just sort of relax and just sort of get into a little bit of a meditation position here. Okay. Homage to the perfection of wisdom, the Blessed Mother. Thus I have heard at one time the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgir and Mass Vulture's Mountain, together with a great assembly of monks and a great assembly of nuns, a great assembly of bodhisattvas. That time the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination. That time also Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, was looking perfectly at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, looking perfectly at the 5 aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Then through the power of Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, how should a son of the lineage train who wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, replied to Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of the lineage wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection of wisdom should look perfectly like this. Subsequently, looking perfectly and correctly also at the 5 aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Form is empty and emptiness is form. Emptiness is none other than form and form is none other than emptiness. Likewise, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, having no characteristics. They're not produced and not cease. They have no defilement, no separation from defilement, no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, and no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mentality, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no tactile object, no phenomenon. There is no I element, and so forth, up to no mentality element, also up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so forth, up to no aging and death, no exhaustion of aging and death. Likewise, there's no suffering, origin, cessation, or path, no exalted awareness, no attainment, also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there's no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide in the perfection of wisdom. Their minds have no obstructions and no fear. Passing utterly beyond perversity, they attain the final nirvana. Also, all Buddhas reside perfectly in the 3 times, having relied upon the perfection of wisdom, became manifest complete Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the equal, the unequal mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, since it's not false, should be known as the truth. Mantra of perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Tayantam gata gata paragata parasam gata bodhisoha. Shariputra Bodhisattva, great being, should train the profound profession of wisdom like this. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and said to Shariputra, the Bodhisattva, the great being that had spoken well. Good, O Samalan, just like that. Since it's like that, just as you have revealed, in that way the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, Spirit of Alakshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, and the entire circle of disciples, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, and spirits, were delighted and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One. Okay. So let's just take a moment to do the 9-point breathing here. We can just visualize ourselves having a hollow body, just like the wide open sky within us. So just like your body's made out of energy, kind of like a little bit of an outline that's clear inside, expelling sort of sick chi or sort of old stagnated energy. And again, by closing the right nostril, inhale through the left, close left, exhale through the right. We're getting rid of the first 3 breaths here, getting rid of desirous attachment, sort of stuck energy, this kind of thing. Helping to let go, all that sort of stale energy is getting flushed out. Then again, inhaling through our right, exhaling through our left, getting rid of anger, reactivity, resentment. And finally, 3 deep breaths, both nostrils, relaxed way. And on the 3rd inhalation, just hold the breath at the navel, put your mind there, feel that your mind, your prana, and your breath are being held just a little bit below the belly button, the navel chakra, and then release. So just on your own time here, just finish up. And just a lead visualization here. So just for karma, because we're getting right back to teachings through Abhidharma Kosha, the Abhidharma teachings, sort of Buddhist teachings, sort of original teachings. I figure for this course we'll do the Jorsho meditation, sort of really connecting with Buddhist Akimuni and the sort of original teachings of Buddhism here. Sort of like getting back to the source, so to speak. So again, visualizing ourselves in a wide open space, ground beautiful like lapis lazuli, surrounded by all sentient beings around us, those closest to us, sort of emotionally or sort of psychically, those sort of deep bonds that we have with others, those people being closer, and then sort of moving out to sort of include all sentient beings, sort of further go away. So our mother on our left, father on our right, people we love the most behind us, and people we like the least in front of us. And moving outward, we can just think of all our neighbors and friends, people in our neighborhood, at work, for instance, people we know, extended family. And then our town, our country, the world, people from all over the world, different cultures and countries and places, everybody together. It's all human beings, all animal beings, from sort of the animal realm, the whole sort of Gaia ecosystem, from small little organisms all the way up to big mammals and birds. Spirit world as well, just all beings from the different elemental planes, ethereal and astral planes, all Bardo beings. Celestial beings, so different demigods and gods. I just think so. Basically, we're everything in the desire realm, Rupakaya, everybody that's all here. Just all human beings and animals, so forth, and even small local gods, and then going up to the form and formless realm gods as well. So they're all here. And then countless numbers of beings in lower states of existence, hungry ghost beings and hell beings. So a big group of us here, we're all meditating peacefully and happily together. Now looking up, beautiful blue, clear sky above us, and in front of us, like a big hologram or whatever, almost like a huge mural. It's kind of gigantic. We're going to visualize made out of pure light or sort of pure energy, the Great World Tree arising on Lake Manasarovar, like a big oak tree, for instance, or a big redwood, or whatever you want to visualize. And in it is the Dorcho meditation sort of refuge field. So central figure, like they always say, like a full moon surrounded by stars, is Buddhist Akimuni. And he's a beautiful golden energy body wearing 3 robes of a monk, a lion throne, lotus moon sun seat. And he's in, again, as we always see the Buddha in lotus position, he's holding a begging bowl of medicinal nectar in his left hand. Right hand is in the mudra of subduing, touching the earth. And at his heart, its higher form, Vajradhara and Vajradhatushvari, so the divine couple. And they're in sexual embrace. They have beautiful sapphire blue bodies wearing crowns and silks. And he's got a bell in his left hand, Dorji in his right, sort of around her back. She's got in her left hand a skull cut with its nectar, right hand chopping, sort of curved knife, chopping knife, Rigu. She's embracing him, arms around his neck. And we can feel that on her left, or Buddha's right, is Buddha of loving kindness, Maitreya, and he's in Bodhisattva form. So he's in lotus position with turn the wheel mudra, turn the wheel of Dharma mudra at his heart, holding 2 white lotuses, a beautiful old golden energy body with the crown. And he's surrounded by all the quote unquote vast path gurus. So men and women, all teachers who have taught the teachings on bodhicitta, compassion, mind-only school, and so forth. So like Arya Sangha and Vasubandhu being the sort of teacher we'll be studying in this course on karma. Now, on the other side, our right, or Buddha's left, is the profound path gurus, everyone around Buddha, wisdom, and Manjushri. And he's in the same bodhisattva form, so he looks very similar to Maitreya. And he has his hands in turn of Dharma Mudra, holding 2 white lotuses, crowns, beautiful. All teachers around him, men and women through the ages, yogis, yoginis, and lamas who have taught emptiness, wisdom teachings. Most of all, seeing in front of him teachers like Arya Nagarjuna, Arya Deva, Janakirti, and so forth, Buddha Parita, these sort of famous saints, thinkers. Now behind Buddha is Vajradhara, this time solo, and he's just, just like this, and he's a beautiful blue body and a crown, surrounded by all teachers who have taught Tantra, Vajrayana paths. And now in front of Buddha in 3, we can just see all of our teachers of this life, most of all our root teacher, but anyone who's taught us the Dharma, Buddhism, all different Buddhist teachers we might have in any spiritual path or any sort of personal growth work that we've done since being a kid, even our teachers, people that have taught us how to read or write. It's a whole team of people that have been able to sort of put us where we are right now, be able to meditate on karma this morning. So they're all in the tree, kind of like our teaching team, so to speak. And then moving in front, we can just think all other holy beings are there as well. So the Buddhas from the 4 classes of Tantra, 16 Arhats, the kings from the 24 places, 1,000 universal Buddhas of this aeon, all different Dharmapalas and protector Buddhas and so forth. So it's just a whole party of different Buddhas, so to speak. And it's just like Bob Thurman says, like a beautiful big Christmas tree of all different sort of multicolored light beings and angels and so forth. Okay, taking refuge from our hearts. I know all sentient beings to reach even enlightenment and go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I know all sentient beings to reach even enlightenment and go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I know all sentient beings to reach even enlightenment and go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Now generating bodhicitta from our hearts, everything that we're going to do today together will be for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. In particular, everything we do will be so we get enlightened, become a Buddha, and then all we do is teach and help all other beings get to the same place. So all of our meditation study, that's our motivation for it today. So through the virtues we collect by giving other perfections, may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Now generating love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Equanimity being a balanced mind, sort of open, caring, and friendly to everybody. Just feel beautiful golden lights coming down. So actually I forgot to do this. I forgot to do this visualize. So let's do first of all, white light coming down to purify us. This is sort of the refuge part. It's beautiful white lights and nectars. And as for all sentient beings, it's kind of like a soft moonlight going down, purifying them, getting rid of all shadows and stains and bad energy. And for us, it's kind of like a nice soft waterfall of energy coming to our head. And again, it's like a powerful soap or solvent, like when you, power wash your car, you drove through the mud, go through some big muddy trail in the Kootenays or whatever, you come back and get the hose and blast all the mud off it. The same thing, all this sort of bad energy and bad karma is leaving our body, making us crystal clear. So looking around us, sort of in our mind's eye here, all sentient beings, we're all beautiful, clear and luminous, crystal clear, like all bunch of new wine glasses, crystal wine glasses on a table, and we're all super beautiful, clear and crystal. And now golden energy is coming down, giving us bodhicitta energy, opening our hearts, the awakened mind, love and compassion. Now we're all just like little stars on a plane here, glowing. Now with the 4 measurables, may everyone be happy. May everyone be free from misery. May no one ever be separated from their happiness. May everyone have equanimity, free from hatred and attachment. Now we're sort of a brighter star here amongst all the stars, like a big sun, and we're just sending out like a waterfall of golden energy going to us, and then in all directions it's going out, like a big bubble of energy. And again, giving love and compassion, joy, and equanimity. Yeah, 7-fold cause and effect here. 7-fold cause and effect. Oh, that's Freudian slip, but in a nice way. I'm just thinking of generating more bodhicitta. So again, sending out, we'll go with that. More bodhicitta energy, more compassion, compassion. And now 7 limb practice, that's what I'm trying to say. So again, making our practice a Buddhist one here with sending out prostrations, offering, confession, rejoicing, requesting all Buddhists to stay, to teach, and dedication. So again, prostrating in our mind, showing love and respect and devotion to sort of our higher selves, all the Buddhas in front of us representing our own Buddha nature, our own enlightened potential. And honoring this. So offerings, opening our heart in generosity, making offerings to the merit field so we can just feel. 2 good ones I like doing as always is just being like Samantabhadra and offering billions of flowers, gardens, just in all directions, fields of wildflowers, English gardens, Japanese Zen gardens, cherry blossom petals falling from the sky, whatever you want to visualize, even just your own garden if you have really nice flowers. And the other one being you can visualize light offerings, beautiful butter lamps, Japanese lanterns. This is sort of represents our own inner wisdom or dharmakai, so it's very auspicious to offer light offerings to the merit field here, the refuge tree. So declaration, confession, acknowledging, stepping up, owning, just declaring in front of all sentient beings. And merit field here, but as are omniscient, they see what you do. And deep down, we know what we do, for better and for worse here. So sort of standing up naked in front of everybody and just acknowledging and owning that just all your really horrible, shitty parts of yourself when you're just super selfish and mean and horrible and ugly to yourself and other people. And see that this is all karmically driven through contaminated actions and delusions. In the big picture, because it's motivated by ignorance, you don't know what you're doing. Forgive yourself, you don't know what you're doing. But you're also just sort of acknowledging that, yeah, we're going to work on this. We're going to let this go. We're going to purify. We're going to grow out of all these bad habits and delusions. And then rejoicing, acknowledging all your goodness, all the good things that you do, even just the goodness of us meditating here together. But all the goodness in the world, the goodness from sort of top down, that goodness of all light beings and the Buddhas, all their virtues and love and compassion, and then all the wonderful little acts of kindness and love around in the world at any moment done by sentient beings. Now holding at our hearts here, beautiful lion throne, sending it up. White lion throne sort of floats up, dissolves into Buddha's lion throne, just opening that door, getting that line of energy from the Buddhas to us, just always stay with us, always be in our life, no matter what, guiding and teaching us. Just always may there be that psychic bridge, the sort of the hole in the clouds where you're always with us in this world, and then sending up from our hearts, gold and 8-spoke Dharma wheel, and always teach us Dharma as personal advice in our lives, the Buddhas. So in particular, we want the Buddhas to always teach us emptiness and karma. It's nice for them to teach us to be nice people and to smile and this kind of stuff, but what liberates us from samsara and makes us Buddha in the end is the teachings on emptiness. So please continue to teach us this. And now dedication. Dedicating from our hearts, everything we're doing will be for the enlightenment of all beings. Okay, one more offering here before we dissolve the merit field, holding up beautiful mandala, the whole purified universe. You can visualize the Vedic universe if you want. Mount Mirror, the sun and the moon, 4 condensate subcontinents, all the precious possessions of a Chakravartin conqueror, all beautiful things. We offer up to the refuge tree here, to Buddhist Akimuni, for the ground sprinkled with perfume and spread with flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, sun and moon, seen as a Buddha land, and offered thus, and all beings enjoy such pure lands. And inner offering, inner vandal, I should say, I offer without any sense of loss the objects that give rise to my attachment, hatred, and confusion. My friends, enemies, strangers, bodies, and enjoyments, please accept these and bless me to be released from the 3 poisonous minds of ignorance, anger, and attachment. Send forth this jewel mandala to you, precious gurus. Now, beautiful golden lights and nectars come down. Like sunshine, blessing us. Feel like everyone around us, we're all glowing, beautiful golden color here. And now for the dissolution, then a short meditation, just visualize that the whole merit field starts to gradually melt, dissolve into golden light. So the lake and the trees start to melt into the Buddhas. So just all these countless Buddhas in the sky, like in the Milky Way. And they start dissolving inward. This kind of the whole border start to sort of dissolve and sort of condense inward. So all the different holy beings and light beings just in front of Buddhist Akimuni dissolve into our main root teacher of this life, who becomes like a little star, and then he goes or she goes into the heart of Buddhist Akimuni. On either side, the teachers from the vast path and profound path gurus, all these gurus dissolve into Maitreya and Manjushri, become balls of golden light, and dissolve inward into Buddha. All tantric teachers dissolve into Vajradharani, and becomes a ball of blue light that comes, dissolves in Buddha. Now it's just Buddhist Shakyamuni in the sky. And now Buddha starts to melt into light, ground, his toes sort of inward here, dissolving inward into his heart. It's just a divine couple, Vajradhar and Vajradhara. Now they start to get really, really small, like a little jewel, a little piece of lapis or a blue diamond, about the size of a sunflower seed. And they sort of slowly come down to the crown of our head, turn around so they're facing our direction, into our crown chakra. And then they descend to our heart. Again, nice and slow. And once they reach our heart, just feel that they dissolve right into our root mind, mind of clear light. Just feel that their clear light mind, their Dharmakaya mind, and ours become one and inseparable. It's all the compassion, the power and wisdom of the Buddhas goes directly into us. And we feel a sort of, again, experience of totality and so bliss and joy and bliss. So the bliss being a sense of great, great peace and totality, feeling one with everything, feeling complete, great spaciousness, and joy sort of there being sort of an active principle to that, or positive energy, an encompassing energy. Okay, let's come into meditation now. Okay, I'm just going to get my trusty reading glasses on here. Okay, great. So if you'd like to actually listen, I have to find out kind of where the actual link is, but a lot of most of the information here, I should say, is coming from the Asian Classics Institute course number 5 that Geshe Michael Roach taught in the mid-1990s sometime. So it's class number 5, how karma works. So just if you want to look at that, but of course, as always, I throw in a lot of other stuff as well. But if you don't want to listen, they have class notes kind of that students took, I guess, at that time. It sort of allows you to kind of go through a little quicker the material. Anyway, so the first class we're going to do now just on this is just an introduction to the course in general. So the information on karma is coming from chapter 4 of the Abhidharma Kosha. So Vasubandhu is the one who wrote it. Now you can get this. It's called, I've even seen it as a PDF online. It's called Treasury of Knowledge by Vasubandhu. So you can, it's a beautiful hardcover book. And what it is Vasubandhu's a very, very famous Buddhist saint. He's probably in, go to Wikipedia, I can't remember offhand, but I think maybe in the 3rd century or so. You'd have to see the dates, but he was the younger brother of Arya Sangha, who Rinpoche always tells the story, where their mom was from Western India, from Gujarat, I think, or is basically what's present-day Pakistan or something, I can't remember. But anyway, she was a nun and had some dream, maybe a Buddha came to her and said, if you disrobe and have 2 kids, they will become 2 very famous Buddhist saints. So she did, disrobed, and I think her first partner might have been some local king or some kind of highborn guy, and gives birth to a Sangha. So Arya Sangha is one of the great Buddhist, famous Buddhist saints that really did a lot to propagate and sort of disseminate Buddhist philosophy in the world. So they say in 2 prophecies that the Buddha gave, just like after I die, kind of like 2 emanations of myself, 2 kind of quote second Buddhas will come and spread my doctrine. Of course, this being Arya Nagarjuna and Arya Sangha. So Sangha was the one that really codified the mind-only teachings on emptiness, for instance, and wrote a lot of good stuff. He's the one, there's a lot of stories about him. He received the 5 great books directly from the 5th Universal Buddha, Buddha of Loving Kindness, Maitreya, in the Pure Land of Tashida. So he sort of astrally traveled there and received like the Mahayana Uttara Tantra Shastra and Clear Ornament of Realization, these very, very famous books on Buddha nature that you can study. So they said like he lived to 150 years old or longer, I can't remember. And one of it was like he was in meditation doing this astral travel to Maitreya's Pure Land of Tashida. And they said he spent the morning there. So he spent the morning in Tashida Pure Land getting these texts. And then as soon as he comes out of meditation, meanwhile, like 50 years had passed in the world, like everybody was dead, and like he's in his cave and everything's all kind of like old and dusty. And it's like, oh my God, wow, you know. And so that's like a famous story. So he's, that's Arya saying that his younger brother Vasubandhu was, again, did a lot of work on the sort of more, what it was called Hinayana philosophy and Abhidharma philosophy, like the Vaibhashika school. He was a very, very famous scholar, but he was also a mind-only practitioner on emptiness. They said there's a whole lot of different books on him. So what he did is he, I think the Dalai Lama's even got a book on him, maybe on, I know he talks a lot when he, you know, Rinpoche even mentions this, like Vasubandhu did a lot of, there's a lot of sort of cosmology and metaphysics in his writing. So Dalai Lama always says that what's amazing is that how accurate a lot of stuff that he said is, even in terms of modern science now. So you could look, I mean, it's kind of interesting. So what the Abhidharma Kosha is that Vasubandhu took all these Abhidharma teachings from Buddha and put them into one book. So they're all codified and put together. So in Abhidharma Kosha, that's what's called Treasury of Knowledge. It's all the Abhidharma teachings on psychology, metaphysics, cosmology, everything. It's kind of like your big book on the cosmology or system of Buddhism. It's amazing. He was kind of the first guy to really do that. So chapter 4 of Abhidharmakosha is the chapter on karma. So all the teachings on karma are in chapter 4 of this book. Because, you know, what Buddha was like, he taught for 50 years all over the place to everybody. So, and it was all done orally. So his teachings on karma are kind of all over the place and everywhere. So Vasubandhu sort of codified and put them together. So I have here also that the first Dalai Lama, Ganden Drup, wrote a very famous commentary on chapter 4 of Abhidharmakosha, and this sort of made him famous in Tibet at the time. He was one of Tsongkhapa's students, as you know, first Dalai Lama Ganden Drup, and his work on karma or Abhidharmakosha was very, very popular. So Abhi, breaking the word up, Abhidharmakosha, in Tibetan, it is Nungpa Chu Zu, so basically approaching existing thing treasury. So, and then there's a sense of it being also approaching, in other words, you know, Dharma means existing things, approaching, the treasury of approaching real things. So there's a connotation of meaning that this system or this book will lead you to the real thing, approach to the real thing, which is nirvana or the truth. So in other words, these teachings are what take you up to nirvana, which means it's teachings of wisdom, ultimately wisdom of ultimate truth, wisdom of emptiness. So that's the importance or sort of the purpose of this book. So there are 7 great books on Abhidharma taught by Buddhist students, and Vasubandhu compiled them into this one, the Abhidharmakosha. So first Dalai Lama's book, if you want to look it up, is called Illuminating of the Path to Freedom. Tarlam Selje. So if I'm not too sure if that's online, you can look, but that's sort of his commentary to Vasubandhu here. So the main point that the Dalai Lama stresses in his book is basically why are we meditating? Like, what's the point of higher wisdom meditating on emptiness? It's interesting is that in emptiness meditation, once you've seen emptiness, you can no longer do anything bad. You cannot be a bad person. You cannot do bad things. Why? Because you no longer have any ignorance. All bad things are bad karma, bad actions, your bad habits, your bad character flaws are all based on ignorance of karma. And so once you see emptiness, you see through this, which means you will no longer do any bad things. You will only do good things. And these good things are what makes you this saintly person, right? So that's the sort of the point that Dalai Lama is stressing in his book. So there's 2 types of Abhidharma, or what's also known as Abhidharma, you can also call unstained knowledge. One is Sherab, or wisdom. And basically in this, there are 3 higher paths of this wisdom. And this is actually, so in the Abhidharma teachings, they talk about, so if there's, we've mentioned this before, there's basically 5, they call the 5 great paths to enlightenment. So path of accumulation, preparation, seeing, habituation, no more learning. So basic, like your whole Buddhist path, the first part, the path that you're on is, let's say the path we're on together right now is accumulation, which is getting all the karma, good causes and merit and virtue together to be able to perceive emptiness directly and, you know, sort of reach nirvana, get enlightened. So the second path is the preparation path, which is having a correct understanding or view of emptiness, meditating on a lot with tranquil abiding. These 3 higher paths then are the result of that. Path of seeing is when you see emptiness directly. The preparation is like preparing to see it. Concept falls away, your conceptual mind falls away, you see emptiness directly. Habituation is everything you do subsequent to that experience of seeing emptiness directly. So meditating more, integrating emptiness into your whole life, and then no more learning is where that leads you to enlightenment, full enlightenment. So the second thing in Abhidharma is Jaydrung, which is things following behind or hanging, which means all the accessories to knowledge or wisdom that we get from meditating, contemplating, studying, or anything else. So basically in the Abhidharma teachings, he's saying that Sherab and Jaydrung, the sort of first part of Abhidharma teachings, the important one is basically getting on the path to seeing emptiness directly. And then the second stuff you find in Abhidharma are all other sort of appendices, footnotes to that, all other teachings, contemplations that you sort of help you along your Buddhist path. Okay, so just, again, this is just a quick introduction before we get to the basic two kinds of karma. Time here. So there are 8 chapters in Abhidharma Kosha, and this is just what they are, just as a little bit of an introduction. One is categories of existence, which is basic categories of how we divide up the world. So Vasubandhu in the Abhidharma teaching says that we can divide the world up to basically, for the purposes of our Dharma practice, into what's called stained or unstained. In other words, good karma or bad karma. Things we should practice, things we should take up in our life, and things we should let go of or not indulge in. Right. Number 2, powers, which is the faculties of perception, which is basically teachings on low rig or mind mental functions. Also, how do things function? How do they occur karmically? That's in the second book here, or second chapter. Chapter 3 is the suffering world, a description of all realms, beings, time, space, etc. So the third one there is all the teachings you get on Buddhist cosmology. So if you want to know about different realms, different universes, all the weird, kooky, cosmological, astral, kind of wacky new age stuff, that's in chapter 3. There's all sorts of stuff on that, like different dimensions, or like all that's in that part of the book there. Chapter 4, what we're studying is karma, where the world comes from. And basically what Vasubandhu is showing in this is the world is coming from karma, not from some kind of a god or other kinds of principles. So basically the world comes from you, from your mind. This world is your world. So that's the whole point of chapter 4, what we'll be going into. Chapter 5, mental afflictions, all different bad karmas and delusions and so forth, and how they motivate your behavior or get into trouble with bad karma. 6, which is person and path. In other words, how to escape suffering, the whole sort of Buddhist path of how to reach nirvana. Chapter 7 is wisdom, kinds and details of wisdom. So of course that'll be on emptiness. And finally, chapter 8, balanced meditation, descriptions of Buddhist knowledge, balance between agitated dull mind, bright and attentive mind. So that's all teachings, I'm assuming, on different kinds of concentration, like tranquil abiding and just how to meditate. So you can see that this is indeed a quote unquote treasury of knowledge, that in those 8 chapters, if you read, and again, the book's for sale on Amazon, you get basically the entire Buddhist path and everything on the Abhidharma teachings, which is great. Okay, so here's another thing, it's just the 4 requirements of the Buddhist book that you get in Abhidharma. What they're showing what a Buddhist book has to have is one in Tibetan, it's basically Juja, Gupa, Negu, and Dralwa, which is in other words, a proper Buddhist book, a true treasure of knowledge has, number 1, as the subject matter is meaningful. It has to be about wisdom, so it allows you to understand virtue and non-virtue. Number 2, it has to have a specific spiritual purpose, which is to plant the seeds of wisdom. Number 3, the ultimate goal it has to have is nirvana, or wisdom realizing emptiness. And 4 is the relationship, the relationship between the prior 3 categories here is how to attain nirvana. So in other words, you have to have a bit of a path. The book has to show you a practical path. The book itself has to show you how to reach nirvana or wisdom realizing emptiness. Okay, so anyway, that's a little bit of a background of Abhidharma Kosha and who Vasubandhu was. So just to let you know, so this is when we're studying Tibetan Buddhism a lot, especially in Gupa tradition, we're studying LamRim, Lojong, Low Rig, these things. We might not study Abhidharma, right? We might not know this book or who Vasubandhu was or what's in this book. So it's an absolute Buddhist classic. And anyway, it's good for us to study. Okay, so getting in just before we start to finish up here, getting into our teachings on karma. So just to finish here, yes. First thing about karma, there are 2 basic kinds of karma, okay? And in Tibetan, it's Lele Jikten Na Soke, which karmic deeds cause the multitude of worlds. This is a famous quote, I guess, by the Buddha. In other words, all beings are all things come from karma. So there are 3 categories of what people, well, this is, I guess you'd basically say, Vasubandhu, right when he gets into chapter 4, I'll just go over this in passing, to be honest, because it's just, I don't know, it's maybe a little. Anyway, right off the bat, he basically says, when we start talking about karma, the first thing, if you ask, where do things come from? How do things happen in the world? People in the lay public, people like us, normal people, basically come up with three explanations of how things happen. First of all things have to come from some original cause, like the Big Bang or some kind of physical cause. Or maybe number two, all things come from some kind of primal energy or life force energy. Or number three, everything has to come from some creator God. So what Vasubandhu wants to show is these three things aren't true, that things actually come from karma, from our own specific karma. And he'll give sort of, I guess we're not going to go into detail, but there'll be philosophical arguments against these things. So in other words, the idea of something coming from a creator God who's uncaused or unrelated to anything, or a creative energy, or some kind of physical condition. All of these things will be shown to be illogical because they're all claiming to be inherently existent, this or that, so they're empty. They don't exist in the way they say they do, blah, blah, blah. But what he wants to show is to get right off the bat in these teachings is that what we're looking at is our own moral causal agency as karmic agents. That's what creates the world. So we're the creators of our world, not something like a big other, as they call it in psychoanalysis, something independent of us that's creating. So in other words, we're not going to be able to point to the Big Bang or God or something else as being responsible for our lives or being responsible for what happens to us. Karma is. So what is this karma? Karma, as the definition here, is the movement of mind. What follows are basically, and what follows being our speech and deeds. So the Tibetan is Dene Sempa Dang, Deje Sempa Yiyel Nino. Hopefully I wrote that down right. So when you give a definition of karma, just for if someone says, what's karma? Basically, the classic definition of karma in Buddhism is the movement of the mind. So basically, your intention, your mind, like what you think, what you say, and what you do. So the mind is first, and then your speech and your deeds follow from that. Okay, so that's why Vasubandhu says there's basically the basic division, what he's called motivating karma and motivated karma. So in other words, one being the thoughts that you have, your mind, your basic awareness, and then two, what you speak or do after thinking about something, or like there's your motivation, and then how the motivation is manifested in the world. What you think, sort of your awareness, and then how it's sort of manifesting through speech and through deed, through your actions. Okay, that might be a little bit much today. I don't want to sort of go with, I just had one more point here, which was, I'll talk about this next week, actually. In the lower school, the Vaibhashika school on emptiness, they have sort of an interesting view on karma. We'll talk about this next week. I'll bring it up next week, which is called non-communicating karma. So what they end up saying is that you can also divide up, this is sort of a lower school of emptiness, karma, into what they call communicating karma and non-communicating karma. So the communicating karma, they say, is everything that you're manifesting through what you say and what you do, basically your actions, right? Basically we're thinking stuff, we're talking, we're doing things in the world, all this energy is being manifested. So it's kind of like communicating karma, actions are being communicated. But then they say that there's another principle which they call non-communicating karma, which is basically the first kind of communicating karma creates an energetic aura that you have around yourself, which is kind of an interesting idea. So I'll just basically say there's 5 things that this aura is, even when you're not thinking about it, it's still there. Number 2, even when your mind's almost shut down, like you're in deep meditation or maybe in a coma, it's still there. Number 3, it has an ethical component. It's either good or bad energy. Number 4 is it continues on sort of in a stream. It follows you throughout your life through time and space. And number 5, in typical Vaibhashika school idea, it is composed of subtle physical matter or subtle energy. So this is an idea the lower school has, which is kind of interesting because I think, just to conclude, a lot of people probably think this is true. In other words, there's the karma that you're doing as a person, then there's your energy, your ethical energy that people see when they're in contact with you, right? So it's like your karmas, you're doing things, you're manifesting the worlds, but you're also manifesting a specific energy as a person. So this ends up being criticized. Higher schools of Buddhism show that there's problems with this idea. But what's interesting is that I think maybe as tantric practitioners like we are, there's some truth to this. Like, you know, all New Age people, we all, me and Matthew's got bad energy, I don't want to be around him, or so-and-so's got good energy, I want to be around them. We all kind of on an intuitive level seem to think there's something true about this, even though if it's not logical or reasonable, there might be holes in it, right? Because sometimes you meet people that are kind of wacky people, and yet they're very, when you get to know them, they're really, really good. And vice versa, someone might appear to be very holy, and then you get to meet them, and it's like, wow, they're like such a terrible, evil person, right? But the Vaibhashika school says they have this as an idea that you get kind of an ethical aura around yourself by practicing. That's, anyway, just think about that. I think on a tantric point of view, it is correct, because you'll see that that's when with tantra, we're always dealing with prana and also with samaya energy. And so that's what's healing. This is why you have like what they call darshan, of course, with your teacher being around your lama or your guru. Their energy or vibration is so pure and ends up purifying you or making you a better person. So ironically, this quote unquote lower school of emptiness, the Vaibhashika, they say something that in the highest Vajrayana teachings ends up being true. So that's kind of interesting. Anyway, so just to sum up, karma is about the movement of the mind. We can sort of say that we're dividing up just basically things into what's sort of virtuous and non-virtuous, what produces happiness, what produces suffering. And we see that basically we have motivated karma and motivating karma. In other words, we have motivating karma is our intention, our mind, our awareness at any moment. And then the motivated karma is what follows from that. So Buddha famously says, remember, he says, from mind, first there's from mind comes speech, from speech comes action, from actions come habit, from habit comes character, from your character comes your fate or your destiny. So we start with the mind, from the mind, our thoughts are always end up in words, right? What we think's in language. Our words are deeds. We're doing things with words. Our words become our deeds. The deeds become our habits, our day-to-day behavior. After, as we know, we're all middle-aged here looking at everyone on the screen. Our habits become our character, right? Our personality, who we are as a person. And as Buddha and a famous Greek philosopher Heraclitus always said, your character is your fate. You want to know your destiny? Look at your character. Look at the kind of person you are, right? So, but you see where it's all coming from. It's not like predestinated. It's just coming from your mind, from your habits, from your karma. So anyway, that's the first class on karma. We'll end right there. I will take one question if anyone has one. And the reason being is that this class, I think everyone's going to have a lot of questions. There's a lot of material, and it's the most important stuff some of the most important stuff we can study. So if I just leave it to 1 hour at the end of 10 courses, it might not be enough time to go over stuff. So if someone has a quick question here, I'm happy to answer it. Otherwise, we'll finish up.
I can jump in with the question,
Yes.
Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's, we start with thought and then it's speech and deed and so on, but what if it doesn't go beyond thought?
Well, this is what we'll see. And this is in the, again, it would be nice, wouldn't that be great if, wouldn't that be great if it was just like that? We only, in other words, we could think the most evil thoughts, but because we're not saying or doing anything, we're not getting any karma. There's all sorts of really very sad stuff on this, like where you have, anyway, I won't get into it because it's another story, where you have different Buddhist politicians or political people in Buddhism over the years that try and think of sneaky ways of getting around karma, right? Where you can still be a bad person, but have your cake and eat it too, because, you know, oh, don't worry about it because you're not creating karma. But the fact is we'll see that you're always creating karma, that with the 10 non-virtues, as you know, the first three, like killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, are the body, then the speech, right? Gossip, you know, lying, and hurtful speech and divisive speech. Those are that do the speech. But the other three, which is wrong view, covetousness, and malice, they say it's instant. You don't have to cash them out. But like killing, you actually have to, you know, physically do it, let's say, right? But those three mental acts of karma are instantly manifest by thinking of them. So you collect karma just by thinking. That's why those three are considered the real bad ones. In other words, if you're a malicious, you know, malice, which is basically wanting people to suffer. So whatever, you hate some Hollywood star, you hate your mother-in-law, you hate whatever, Donald Trump, like everyone did. And you're just all day, you're like, oh, that, you know, I'm at work with my coffee, that Trump. And the point is you're creating so much negative karma kind of instantly, because you don't even have to cash it out by telling him in person you don't like him, right? So that's where the mindfulness comes in, where they always want you to watch your mind for those ones. And of course, what's the worst of all the 10 non-virtuous actions that's accomplished right away all the time, which is, I'll give you the answer. It's a rhetorical question, of course, wrong view. All the wrong views we have around karma and emptiness, all of our politics, our ideologies, our stupid ideas or whatever that cause us to study, to suffer and cause other people to suffer. That's the worst of the worst. Why you're in samsara is because of all your wrong views. Number one being denying karma. If we all knew what karma was, we'd never do anything bad, but we always do everything bad in our lives. Why? Because we don't know karma. We have a wrong view in that, and that's why we're still in samsara, right? All the Buddhists like Green Tar, they're all floating around some pure land, well, all blissed out, and we're stuck down here, you know. So with all the problems, it's because we don't know karma, right? So that's the worst one. So it would be nice, of course, if mental karma was somehow our little squeaky way of getting out of not creating karma, because we're not manifesting it directly through speech or action. But it is whatever we think, ironically, whatever we think is a manifestation. Everything's a projection, right? What you think ends up creating reality. That's a very good question.
Yeah, because the uncontrolled mind, man. Ooh.
And this is it. And this is why, you know, this is where, you know, ignorance, when we're looking at the wheel of life, it's all coming from that. The first two, you know, ignorance and compositional actions. Samsara is delusion and bad actions. That's what samsara is. And again, there's different levels. What you'll see, the more you meditate and get a clearer mind, you see all the unconscious minds and habits that you have, right? That aren't in your regular everyday awareness. So the more you meditate, the more clear you get, the more you see your unconscious, the more you see it's like, well, I'm a really angry person, or I'm a real judgmental person, or I'm a real obsessed person, or I'm a person that can never let anything go. I'm still mad about what someone told me last week. Like the more, then you start to see the quote unquote mental karma, how all those levels of delusion and unconscious motivators are motivating what you say and what you do in your public life, right? So this is why, you know, Buddhism, they say, is taming the mind, purifying the mind, right? All the different techniques we have to do that. So. Okay, how's that? Is that okay for now? Okay, great. Okay, so 10 minutes over here, so don't want to go on. So anyway, thank you so much. Thanks for coming. I'm excited for this class. Like I said, I've taught it a bunch of different times. I love it. It's really, really great. And again, just one last thing, like when you study karma, what I always find, I read these things, I go, wow, I'm like such an evil shit. Like I look at the stuff and I go, oh man, like this is so depressing. But the point of karma, of course, this is a positive thing, is number one, you see the mistakes you're making, you see your bad habits, and two, you see how to fix it. You see how to fix it. Like the point is it's just, there's two buttons, the red one and the blue one. The red one shocks you and everyone else, and the blue one makes you bliss out. You just keep hitting the red button. What we're getting with these things is just learn to press the blue button. That's it. So it's actually a very positive course that we're doing here. At the end of this, you should be like, this is amazing. Finally, someone's told me about the two buttons. My whole life I've been pressing the red one, right? So it's a happy thing. So don't look at this material and get all depressed. Quite the opposite. Say, hey, this is great. Someone's giving me a key to unlock the door, you know. So just wanted to add that in. So how about I just take a moment here to dedicate. So all of our good work today, all of our merit, all of our study and meditation and contemplation on this, on karma in particular. Let's dedicate this for the awakening of all beings. Stop.